So thank you all for coming to Empower You. This is an extension of Longmont Startup Week, which many of you are familiar with. We like to continue the conversation with great speakers and great themes. We did not have the benefit of having Steve at Longmont Startup Week last year, but because of some mutual relationships and some opportunities, we convinced him to come be part of Empower You today. So let me give a brief introduction and then I'll get Steve up here. So Steve Morris is a professional EOS implementer, business coach, project manager, and engineer. And 3 things that you should know about Steve. And these are pretty interesting things. He is originally from New Zealand. He's lived in Maryland for about 32 years and moved to Colorado in August of 2021. He started his career as a professional sailor and then designed million-dollar racing yachts for clients like Larry Ellison, as well as rising to become a top leader at the most premier yacht design companies in the world. Steve and his partner, Kathy, this is very interesting, settled on some land west of Longmont and are developing a permaculture orchard to help offset climate change. You'll have to tell us a little bit more about that. Steve, of course, is a professional EOS implementer. We are EOS benefactors here at Avocet and use it weekly to help keep our company on track, growing, and efficient. So I'm really going to be interested in what you have to share today because I'm a card-carrying member of your club. He's also a certified Lego Serious Play Method, certified in the Lego Serious Play Method. I have 2 colleagues that do that as well. Oh, cool. Super interesting. Yeah. And is passionate about teaching, facilitating, and coaching individuals, leaders, and business leadership teams on their voyage to success. So without further ado, welcome, Steve, and thank you so much.
Dave.
Yes.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right, so this evening's topic, how to grow your business by hiring the right team. And I'm going to give you guys 3 tools this evening that are going to be able to help you figure out, who it is that you need to hire and what you need to have them doing in the business. And, I work with a lot of different types of businesses. And it's one of the most, common questions that comes up is, we want to grow, can't figure out like what that next step is to be able to bring somebody on board, or we don't even know what they need to be doing in the business. So we have some very specific tools in EOS that help with that decision-making and being able to grow a business. So I have one simple promise for you, and I believe that in these tools that there will be one tool or concept out of everything I'm going to give you that you can take back into your life or your business and implement, and things are going to get better the very next day. And even for our solo entrepreneurs and things, there's a lot of things that I'm talking about here that are going to be very useful. So the agenda for this talk, I want to start off by getting real. And by that, I mean, I'm going to set context here, and I'm going to tell you about a model that's going to help you be able to see your business in a whole new light, to really be able to see in reality what's going on in that business. The second part of it is I want to keep it simple this evening. So I'm not going to be talking about any of the latest fads or what's in the Harvard Business Review. I'm talking about real, simple, practical tools that have been used in thousands of businesses. And I want to talk about getting results, to have you walking out of here with a real action plan for things that you can go and do in your business to take it forward. So that's the agenda. And now diving in on getting real. So to create some context, everything that I'm going to share with you this evening was developed by a guy called Gino Wickman. Now, Gino's been an entrepreneur since the age of 21. At 25, he came and joined his father in his father's business. That business wasn't doing very well. So somehow Gino ended up taking over that business and actually executed a turnaround on it. They scaled the business up and ended up selling it very successfully. So after that, he became one of the first 10 founding members of the Detroit chapter of the Entrepreneurs Organization. And there he refound that he loved helping his fellow EO members with building their businesses, and he had something for the knack of the art and the science of growing an entrepreneurial business. So he spent about 5 years cobbling together a set of tools and ended up developing EOS. Now, there's no magic pills or silver bullets in what Gino did. These are simple, practical tools, some of which have been around for 100 years, and I hope they're going to be around for hundreds more. But these tools have been used now in over 110,000 one-day sessions across almost 20,000 businesses by Gino, by myself, and by 500 other professionally trained implementers. And I'm saying all of this to give this context, not to brag or anything, but to really just point out that these are proven practical tools. There's no theory in this. These are proven practical tools that are being, as I said, used in thousands of businesses. Now, before I leap in a little more, I do want to share with you why I'm excited to be talking with you here this evening, give you some of my background. So I had a really cool and interesting start to my career designing multi-million-dollar racing yachts and building and coaching teams to help our clients win some of the world's most demanding yacht races. I learned a lot in those early years about what it took to be a great leader, about the incredible importance of processes and systems, and I developed this deep passion and curiosity about what it took to build a really great team. I was on some incredible teams. We did amazing things, winning round the world yacht races, but I was also on some teams that didn't make it, despite having the resources that we needed. I've seen a $5 million racing yacht broken in half and about to sink beneath the waves because of team dysfunction. Now, I also spent 16 years rising to become a leader at the top yacht design company in the world. We grew that business from 10 to 22 staff. Then I found myself at the top of that business and kind of no way to really learn more in that world. So I made a very difficult decision. I made a difficult decision to leave that business, and I went into government contracting in Washington, D.C. I became a PMP certified project manager, learned how to manage much larger groups of people and multi-million-dollar budgets, and helped the US Navy launch ships into the fleet. And then 8 years ago, I decided it was time to get back to my entrepreneurial roots. So I founded my own business around this mission and passion to help people, teams, and businesses get unstuck and sail forward. Along the way, I was introduced to Traction and EOS, and I immediately fell in love because here at last I'd found the tools I wished I'd had back when I was faced with obstacles trying to grow the yacht design business. So today I am a professional EOS implementer, and I just love every morning getting up and coming and helping business owners and leadership teams get unstuck, fuel growth, and really build a more fun and profitable place to work with their crew. So that's why I'm excited to be talking with you here this afternoon. All right, back to Gino. So Gino's been working with a whole bunch of different types of entrepreneurial businesses and looking at them and trying to figure out why are some businesses working better than others. And he saw about 1 in 20 businesses, people are running like heck, they've got their heads down, they're working hard, but everything's kind of going okay. And the business is moving along and it's growing. Interesting. But then he also saw that those 95% of the other businesses, the 19 out of 20, they're running like heck. They've got their heads down, just trying to do the best they can, but they're feeling a little stuck and they're frustrated. So he looked into this and figured out there were a bunch of frustrations, these 5 main frustrations that he saw in these businesses. So I'm going to go through those with you to create some context here. The first one is control, meaning lack of control. So you saw that businesses, and I've seen this too with my clients, that people get to about 15 people in the business. You know, you started off with 1 or 2 and you get to 5, things are going okay. 15, things start to get a little rockier. And all of a sudden, people are saying, oh, I just don't have my arms around this anymore, and feeling like they're just not in control of the business. So this is the first main frustration. The second frustration is profit, or not enough profit to justify all of the time, the energy, the emotional investment that's going into trying to build a business. The third frustration he found was people. That's what we're going to be talking about this evening. People are frustrating. Vendors, clients, people in the business, right? How do we get everybody moving together more smoothly? The fourth major frustration is hitting the ceiling. So this is this feeling like you've been going along, everything's been going fine in the business, and then all of a sudden one day, bang, you run into a ceiling with the business. I know we experienced this in the yacht design business, got to a certain point in revenue and we just couldn't figure out. We couldn't get the revenue to go more, and we just had hit a ceiling in the business. And then the fifth major frustration is nothing's working. There are thousands of tens of thousands of business books out there. Harvard Business Review, all these magazines, right? You read this stuff, you bring it back to the business, you try it out, nothing works. A major frustration. So if you're feeling any of these things, just know that you're normal. 95% of business owners out there are feeling these same frustrations. So how are we going to deal with this? Well, we're going to keep things simple here, and I'm going to talk about some simple tools that Gino saw when he was looking at those 5% of businesses where things were going really well. What he saw was those businesses were really great and strong in 6 key areas. And those 6 key areas help deal with those 5 frustrations that I was talking about before. So I'm going to share these 6 key areas with you. I'm going to go through them one at a time, once again, to give context. And I'm going to use a model to illustrate this. And this model is based around this idea, this thing that you experience as being part of a leadership team in a business. You've got 136 issues coming at you all at once every single day, right? But to the extent that you can strengthen these 6 key areas in the business, then those 136 issues are just going to fall into place because they're symptoms. They're symptoms of root causes, and that's what we're going to talk about here. So these 6 key areas, the first one is vision. This is about really figuring out what is the vision for your business, where does the business need to be going, and how are you going to get there? The second key area component is people, and this is what we're going to talk about in a moment. Very simply, you can't bring a great vision to reality without having really great people in your business. And in EOS, we cut through all those terms out there like A players and superstars and top quartile, and we just get right to the root of what makes really great people for your business. The third key component is data. This is about running your business on facts and figures and objective information, getting away from feelings and egos and all that sort of subjective stuff that comes up. And what I find when I work with my clients is when we strengthen vision, people, and data, and we get transparency into the organization, we start seeing all of the obstacles, the impediments, the things that are getting in the way, the stuff that's ticking you off and slowing you down. And that's great. We want to have all that stuff come bubble up to the surface, because the fourth key component is issues. And this is about getting really great as a team about being able to identify and prioritize and solve the issues that are getting in the way of you growing your business. Then the fifth key component is the process component. This is about getting the important stuff done in your business the best way and the right way every single time. And when you get that consistency, then you can get scalability. The business becomes easier to manage, more fun, and more profitable. And then finally, the sixth key component is traction. This is about bringing your vision down to the ground and executing with discipline and accountability day in and day out in the business. And in EOS, we say vision without traction is hallucination. And I've been there. I've sat around, at board tables and talked about plans for the business, but without getting that traction component in there, it's just all talk. So that's the EOS model. And when I'm working with my clients, I am working to help them strengthen this and this whole model. And we use a scientific but subjective scale of 0 to 100%. I'm trying to help my clients get to 100% strong in these 6 key components. It is difficult, it's utopia, but it is more reasonable to work to get to 80% strong in these 6 key components. The thing is that most businesses are moving along at about 20% strong, sort of succeeding in spite of themselves. So that's what I'm talking about here, is going on a journey to get to 80% strong. And I believe, and what I see is, when you run a better business, then you also lead a better life. So let's dive in now, some specific tools to help you get there. Tool number one is called Delegate and Elevate. So you've started a business and you've got this idea, things are going well, you start figuring out how to sell. You sell a widget, maybe you sell two. Now you've got to figure out how you're making widgets and selling them, and then you've got to worry about invoicing. And all of a sudden you're getting very busy. So you need to get some help, right? So you need to clone yourself, and you get some more people to come join you in your business. They start selling stuff, making stuff, and suddenly life's getting even more busier. So now we need to hire more people, and they need to clone themselves. But none of this works effectively unless you are able to, as a leader of the business, to be able to elevate yourself and then to be able to delegate work to the people that you're bringing on into the business. So this is a key principle that I see often when I'm talking with prospects and some of the clients that I'm working with, is that feeling of being stuck. I've just got too much to do. Well, what you need to do is you need to start delegating work, and you need to start moving up to a higher altitude so you can be looking out at the horizon, seeing where the business needs to go. It's not that easy, though. I know I have struggled in my life. I am Steve. I've struggled to delegate, right? It's a difficult thing to do. So we have some tangible tools in EOS that help you with that. So it starts off with taking some time. Go to a cafe, coffee shop, sit down and write out in a list all of the things that you do in a week. I had a client who just did this and presented it last week at a leadership team meeting. He'd gone through and in a spreadsheet, marked out all 55, 60 hours that he works, where everything was going, all of the activities that he was doing, figuring that out. And then the next step of what I work with him to do is to take all of those things he's put in that list, and you divide it up into this matrix with 4 quadrants here. So in these quadrants, the bottom right-hand quadrant this is all of the stuff that you don't like doing and you're not good at. Okay, put all of those things that are in that bucket into that quadrant. Bottom left quadrant is all the stuff you don't like doing, but you're kind of good at it. Unfortunately, this is where a lot of people seem to spend the majority of their career. You know, showing up to work, they're kind of good at it, but they don't really like doing it. Top right-hand corner is all of the things that you like doing and you're good at. This is not a bad place to be spending your time. And top left corner is all of the stuff that you love doing and you're really great at, right? So this is really where you want to be spending the majority of your time. So what we do is look at those 2 bottom quadrants there. All the stuff you wrote in those 2 bottom quadrants, that's the stuff you need to delegate to somebody else. Somebody else whose top 2 quadrants will take all of those things. They like doing all of that work that you don't like doing. And then you spend your time maximizing your time in this place we call your unique ability. That's a term that was coined by Dan Sullivan from Strategic Coach up in Canada. When you spend your life in the time that's your unique ability, you get energy. You know, a lot of people always talk about, oh, I don't have enough time in my life. But when you spend your life doing the things that you love best and you're really great at, you get energy. Energy comes. When you spend your life doing the stuff that you don't like doing, that's the stuff that sucks away at your energy and you procrastinate on. So organizing your life, figuring out what do I need to do to elevate myself up and delegate work down. So that's the first tool. Then how do we figure out where all of this work that you want to delegate goes in the business? We use a tool called the accountability chart. So Gino says, structure first, people second. So this is one of the fundamental tenets of what we do to be able to figure out how do we structure the business properly. We start off with that structure, not with people, actually. So the accountability chart is based around a concept. And that concept is that every great business has to be strong in three main areas. You have to be strong in marketing and sales, right? You have to be able to go out into the marketplace, create demand, turn that demand into closed orders, bring that stuff back. You have to be really strong in operations. You have to be able to deliver your service or make your product. And you have to be really strong in finance to be able to manage the money coming in and out of the business, right? To be able to track the assets of the corporation. So you have to be strong in these three main areas. Then we put a fourth major function on this chart called the integrator. The integrator is the person who beats the drum for the organization. They're the glue that holds everything together, and they harmoniously integrate across the leadership team. And then we put a fifth major function, which is the visionary. Visionaries are people who are at the 30,000 foot level. They have 20 new ideas before breakfast every single morning. They love managing the big relationships in the business. They're the big problem solvers, but they just don't like getting down in the weeds and having those difficult conversations. That's the job for the integrator. So when I work with my clients, I work with them around this concept, and then we end up customizing it and making it right for their particular organization. Sometimes marketing and sales might be two separate functions, or many clients have different operations, inside operations, external operations. Finance might split out HR or IT. So we make it right for whatever the business needs. But within each one of these functions, I work with my clients who drill down to figure out, like, what does each one of these functions need to be? So, sure. One more.
Is there an optimal size organization to implement this? Maybe saying it differently. Is there a company that might be too small or too big to accommodate this type of model?
No, I don't believe so. So the thing is that all of these functions are required of a business, even if it's one person by yourself or two people in a room, you've got to still do all of these things. And, so I have, I think my smallest client started off, it was 4 people, and they were doing all of these things. And so you end up, in a small business, multi-hatted, right? Doing a lot of different functions. The key thing and why this is called an accountability chart is because you can have one person can be in multiple places, but we can't have multiple people in one place. Because if we have multiple people in one function, then we have this going on, and everybody's pointing the finger somewhere else. So that's why it's an accountability chart. We make sure the accountability is running through the organization. All right, so we work on these at this functional level, define what the function is. And then within each function, you need to define 5 major roles that really define, like, what that function's accountable for doing. So I work with my clients to do this, and then we go and put a person in that seat. And I'm going to go into how we do that in a moment. So, for example, we take a marketing and sales function. Maybe those bottom 2 quadrants had all of those marketing and sales things. If you're an engineer, I don't like doing all of that stuff. So strategy, marketing, sales, selling, account management, those bottom 2 quadrants is what we've put into those 5 major functions there. And then we go about finding the right person to go into the right seat. So this concept that I just mentioned, right people, right seats, this comes from Jim Collins, from Good to Great. 20 years ago, he sat down in Boulder, wrote Good to Great. He had examined all of these companies, what had made them sustainable and were able to exceed the gains of the stock market. And one of his principles he saw is this concept, right people, right seats. You have to have both to build a really great business. So I'm going to talk about how we actually help our clients with that, with the third tool, which is the People Analyzer. More on that in a moment. So who are right people? Well, right people are people who share your organization's core values. They fit the culture of your organization like a glove. And so one of the things that I do with my clients is help them figure out, like, what are your core values? Who are you really at your core? What do you want in terms of defining the culture of your organization? So we go through an exercise to discover what those are, define them. What do they really mean in terms of stories, right? You're talking about storytelling and how do we bring these things out? Because words can have different meanings for different people. So define what the core values mean through stories, and then bake them into the business. So you actually live and breathe them. They're not just a poster on the wall. Actually run the business and put them into the business. And the way that we do that is through this People Analyzer tool that I'm going to share in a moment. Then who are right seats? Well, right seats are people who are really great at their job. They've got the talent, the skills, the experience, the expertise to be great at those 5 major roles that we put in the functional area there. We use a concept called GWC to figure that out. That stands for gets it, wants it, has the capacity to do it. So gets it means somebody fundamentally understands the job as you are describing it to them. When you talk to them, you can see the neurons in their brain connecting, their eyes are lighting up. They fundamentally understand the job from an internal aspect. Wants it means that they're rolling out of bed in the morning, wanting to come do the work. You can't pay people to get it or to want it. It has to come from inside them. Capacity to do it means that they've got the expertise, the training, the talent, the skills to be really great at the job, and the time as well. That's very important. And capacity in the reality of hiring people out there in the world, sometimes you might consider hiring somebody on, you might not see that they've got the capacity now, but you can see with training and coaching that they will move up into the role. So how does this work? Well, my first job out of college, I'm on a professional sailing team. One of the functions that they needed to have on that team was navigation. So competitive strategy, weather forecasting, positioning, all of these things were what was required and that role was accountable for. My name got put in that box. So we set off from New Zealand. We're going to sail from New Zealand across to Australia, head up the east coast of New Zealand. Everything's going fine. Stephen Morris is navigating away downstairs at the nav station in the boat. We go around the top of New Zealand. This is where the Tasman Sea and the Pacific Ocean meet together. It gets rough. I'm not feeling so good anymore. I think I might be sick. And so I got seasick. I got seasick for about a day and a half. It was not pleasant for me, but also for this team that I was working with. I didn't have the capacity anymore to be able to fulfill that navigation function. So ultimately, you know, it was an interesting experience, but I did not end up sailing all the way around the world with that boat. I got a job up here in the States, and now here I am talking to you here. It's just one of those paths in life from that particular thing that I didn't have the capacity to do. Anyway, back to the People Analyzer. So how does this work? We have this table. Along the top, we fill it in with your core values, right? These are the things that define you at your core, your culture of your organization. Lay out the people. Maybe these are prospects that you are hiring, and use this table to assess, do these people exhibit the core values? And we just use a very simple system, plus, minus, minus. Plus means they exhibit the core values most of the time. Plus minus is some of the time, and minus is rarely. All right, so you can use this tool to assess in black and white. How are people doing? Are these going to be the right people that we need to bring into the business? Or who do we have in the business right now? How are they doing? And you can use it to facilitate a conversation. Part of what I do with my clients too is to set a bar. And so that is some combination of pluses and plus minuses. Usually, there's a rule of thumb, 5 core values. You want to have 3 pluses and 2 plus minuses. This is a minimum level that somebody who's a right person for our business needs to exhibit. It's Dave.
So if you then analyze this table, you recommend that John Smith be put into a different position? Because he doesn't meet the bar on most.
Right, so that's what my clients do. That's what they use this for, is they do that assessment. And, you know, if John Smith was a prospect that they were hiring, don't hire that person. Yeah. If it's somebody already internally in the business, then, you know, usually my clients are looking at a coaching situation or performance improvement, or having a discussion about, here's what we're seeing. What do you see? How do you think about things? And trying to sort of get those minuses moved up to a plus minus. So being able to meet the bar, this defines who a right person is. And then we add the GWC, gets it, wanted, has the capacity. Assess people there once again. And usually the bar is you need to have 3 yeses and gets it once it has the capacity to do it, if that is a right seat match in the company. Now, as I said before, sometimes this capacity to do it, I see people wiggle on that a little more just because of the sheer practicality of there aren't infinite numbers of perfect people out there coming into organizations. And it's been a very hard hiring market, at least for the last 2 years. So along the way, you're going to encounter a couple of different types of people issues. The first one is right person, wrong seat. So this is where you have somebody that you really love. They fit the culture of your organization really well, but they're just not doing the right thing in the business. And so hopefully you can find somewhere else. You've got another seat, there's somewhere else you can fit them into the business. Otherwise, you know, this is where things get difficult, because if you're running a for-profit business, you can't have people around just because you happen to love them, unfortunately, much as we'd like to do that. The other type of issue that can come up is wrong person, right seat. So this is somebody who's really great at their job. They're knocking the ball out of the ballpark. They're highly productive, but they just don't fit the culture of your organization. In fact, they're chipping away at your culture in little ways that you can't see every single day. I feel like I ran into this at times with some of these high-performing teams I was working on. We get these Olympic-class sailors and the best boat builders in the world and designers in a room. It didn't mean that they're all going to gel together and work as a team. Sometimes it did work, sometimes it didn't. And I'm sure anybody can come up with a number of other sporting team stories from local football onwards about just how we get all of these highly paid people in a room and you think that's all going to work, and it doesn't, because we've got the wrong person in the right seat. We're not getting that culture part of it together. So once again, if you find that you've got a wrong person, right seat in the business, you have to make a difficult decision and make a change for the long-term health of the business. All right, moving on to getting actual results. So part of what I hope for you today is to take action with this. So as an entrepreneur, you're growing your business, you're trying to scale it up. What are the things that you can do? You can look at what you're doing and you can use the Delegate and Elevate tool to figure out what is it that I want to be doing? What is it that I'm not great at? And let's put all of that into a function that I'm going to go find somebody else to do. Where does all that fit? Use the accountability chart to figure out where that function needs to reside in the organization, and then use the people analyzer to go and actually figure out who is a right person, get them in that right seat, because you have to have both to build a really great business. So those are 3 tools that comprise part of the whole EOS model. These 6 key components that I talked about at the beginning, we have tools that help strengthen all of them to help you get to 100% strong in all of these 6 key components in the business. As I said, when you run a better business, I believe you lead a better life. So more resources to go from here. If some of this is resonating with you, you can go to eosworldwide.com. There's a traction library. There's a whole series of books that I go through and detail these tools. There are downloadable tools and videos available on EOS Worldwide. There's a base camp that you can sign up to get access to more tools. And of course, you can come and talk to EOS implementers like myself. In terms of follow-up, if you would like to get electronic versions of the tools from me, just give me a business card or message me with a 1. If you'd like a copy of Traction, some copies here, let me know. And if you would like me to come and talk with your leadership team, send me a 3 and I can come and do that. So with that, that's how we get real simple results and help you get beyond those frustrations in your business, figure out those right people, how you're going to hire them, who you need to hire, and help you grow the business forward. So thank you very much.